Thank you for joining us for Monday Talks. I'm your host, Ed Marshall, and we certainly have a lot of information for you with this program. We're going to be talking about large cities and small cities, cities in terms of how crime affects the economics of the places where we live. And we're also going to be talking about what's called active shooters programs designed to help prevent situations or to be able to handle them, like the situation that happened recently in Florida. But we want to talk right now about how crime affects bringing companies to the city, keeping companies here, and just to make sure that the city continues to be a vibrant place for us and visitors. Joining me now is a longtime person I've known for years. Of course, back in the days of banking, and that goes way back, we won't say how many years, but he is the Vice President of Business Retention and Development with Greater New Orleans, Inc., and he is also the President, the Chairman of Crime Stoppers, on which I'm on the board, and so we want to welcome Tommy Fonseca. Tommy, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ed. Thanks for having me.
You got many titles now, but we do want to talk with you from the perspective of GNO Inc. And we had your boss, Michael Hecht, on a few months ago about what goes on in you all's assembly of what you all do every day in terms of, because you all see how crime affects, and you're intimately aware because you get the reports all the time from Crime Stoppers about how do we let people know that we're an okay city still to come to.
Sure. In economic development and the work that we do is a multi-parish effort. We work within 10 parishes to help existing companies grow, remain here, and be prosperous. But then also, more importantly, we're trying to grow our region, grow our economy by attracting companies from outside the region, to relocate here and, again, to make that business investment, that capital investment in our city. One of those challenges is, the quality of life. Should I, as a business owner or a company, invest money, talent, and resources in this region? And looking at the quality of life issues, historically, New Orleans has had a number of quality of life issues that we've constantly had to address over time. One being crime. It's something that we, in partnership with law enforcement throughout the region, businesses, individuals, community organizations, church-based faith organizations, it's a team effort to address that. Education, we've made strides there. Flood protection has been another issue that I think we have addressed. And then all the resources, the culture, food, hospitality that the city offers. People want to live here and enjoy that, but if they don't feel safe, if they feel that their wife or spouse or kids don't have a safe place to live and go to school, that could be very concerning. And that plays in the role of people and businesses, making that decision to invest here.
And we are getting more businesses coming in. So we kind of calming the tide by letting people know that we are involved with law enforcement officials to curb crime.
No, absolutely. Like any major city, New Orleans, does have crime issues, like any major city would, with the population density that we have. I think we've made tremendous strides on many different fronts. Law enforcement is getting better equipped and focusing on high crime areas. But organizations like Crime Stoppers is making sure we have a plan and educating people, working with schools and youth in crime prevention efforts, and again, working within the community as a true partner, as a resource that we provide a vehicle that you can, report on a crime that you may have witnessed anonymously in a safe environment. And it's truly everyone's part. It's just not law enforcement. It's just not businesses. It's individuals. If you see something, say something. So again, to address the issue of companies coming here, as long as we have a plan in place, and we're proactive with that plan, that helps overcome those barriers of businesses making a decision to come here.
And also what I think I hear you say is that businesses here who already, they need to stay involved with the police departments and the sheriff's departments and continue the dialogue so we can continue to improve this.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the people that probably voice the loudest voice, or you hear them, or those individuals affected by crime. It's everyone playing a part of making sure that they invest their time and their resources, and more importantly, in some cases, it's their money to help support organizations and law enforcement to make sure that we have all the tools in place to provide a safe community.
All right, Tommy, thank you for being with us. Good. Give Mike Huckett my best.
I will.
We'll try to come by there and have coffee with you guys soon. Okay?
Great. Thank you, Ed.
We appreciate Tommy very much and all that GNO Inc. does. And when we come back after this commercial, we're going to have an in-depth look at what's called active shooters, particularly as it involves clergy, churches, making sure that large places, congregations are prepared in the event of something might happen. And there was a program held recently that we want to share with you. So we'll tell you about it when we come back. So stay with us. Well, welcome back to Money Talks. I have some very special people with me today. We all are still reeling from the situation that happened in Florida at that school, and they're definitely in our prayers. But it also brought up so many other things, and we're trying to be proactive in the greater New Orleans area in terms of what's called active shooter situations. And I am very, very pleased to have with me two gentlemen that I want to introduce to you, and to many you probably already know. And to my immediate left is they call him Doc at the Jefferson Sheriff's Department, the JPSO Director of Training, Mr. Jim Airy.
Very nice to be here, sir. Very
nice. And of course, next to him is a staff member at the training center, and that is Eric Blanford. Not Blanchard, I got it right. Okay.
Thank you.
We, of course, had I thought it was a very good gathering out at Greater St. Stephen's in New Orleans East recently, and I tell you, it was a very good dichotomy of the city. I saw clergy, black, white, Asian, everybody came there because Crime Stoppers and NOPD and Jefferson, everybody was collectively together saying, we need to talk to preachers in particular because they have such large congregations, and we want to make sure that they're safe and know what to do. So, Doc, with that being said, take us back to Saturday and kind of give us your walkthrough because you were part of that process.
Right, that was a great meeting, and I was honored and thrilled that Sheriff Lopinto sent me, even though it was in Orleans Parish, sent me out there and gave me the green light to go there. The three officers that I worked with, I did 20 years with NOPD before I retired. And the three SWAT officers, I've worked real closely with all three of them for years and years. They're all three real class acts. They were able to talk about the real logistics, the tactical aspects, the run, hide, fight that we want civilians to pay attention to if, God forbid, something like this would happen. The part that I talked about was the part that of course, I'm biased, that I think is essential is that these people who do these shootings, they come from our community. They come from our families. You know, they're not people who are bust in or fly in. They come from our community.
So it's usually someone that knows someone there.
They're local. And if you look at all of the research that ATF has done, Secret Service has done, FBI has done, every single one of these people tells somebody. They tell somebody beforehand, and unfortunately, they are chronically mentally ill, or you've got to be mentally ill to go in and do something like this and kind of either wait for the police, kill yourself, and they're chronically mentally ill, and so these messages have been out there, whether from their therapist, their counselor, their school counselor, other parishioners, somebody who works in that church. That message is out there, and that was what I was trying to talk about is it's going to take forever for the courts to make whatever decisions they make in terms of gun control.
Yeah.
Until that, what we have to take a look at is this population that's chronically mentally ill. How do we get them the treatment that they need?
And that's big because
That's the issue.
Because
that's the
you know,
issue.
I see people all the time. They see people under the railroads and under the overpasses, and they just think these people just want to be hanging out there. And I've worked with a number of the missions and people like that, and you find out so many of these people were family people. I mean, very educated. Some of them even had doctorates, and just something snapped.
Right.
And at that point, but there's no. What do you do to try to help get these people into help?
Well, there's been a tremendous reduction of inpatient psychiatric beds
Yes.
in our state and every state in the union.
And I think that's a shame.
Yeah, and that's really the issue here, because when this happens and we identify who the shooter was, nobody says, "Oh boy, that's a surprise." Everybody says, "Yep."
Yep. They
Yep.
usually say, you know,
Yep.
that guy looked strange
Right.
to me, or he did something unusual,
Right.
or he was at that school.
And when you look at it more, they all sent messages out. Whether they told somebody, they told a therapist, they told a doctor, they told their next door neighbor, they told their mom, their dad, a sibling, a counselor at church. They told somebody that they were struggling, and then they made comments about guns and killing people. So all of that information was out there.
You know, you also have a background in psychology,
Right.
So you're more intimately knowledgeable about that. So a lot of what I'm hearing you say is too is that when people know that there's someone that's in a congregation and they know that somebody's got some issues, they need to let somebody know.
Right. We need to do whatever we can legally, because it's morally, we have to take care of our brothers and sisters. That's our job.
Let's talk to Mr. Blanford for a second. You, of course, are at the Training Academy. Walk us through some of the things that Doc, what they teach you all to do in the event we have situations like this.
The number one, our primary objective, and we teach this to everybody. It doesn't mean if you work in this division where you may not encounter this, but anyone with a radio, anyone that's employed by us, we try and teach the same thing, and that's to immediately go in and stop the killing, eliminate the threat, stop, that act of violence from happening. That's their first and foremost. Obviously, after that has happened, there's a lot that has to happen after that. We start rendering medical aid, we start getting all the other resources and tools we have available to us. But our primary objective, if this kicks off, is we go in and we stop the killing, and that's what we want.
Because I know there was a lady there she asked that very question. She says, when I see an officer or somebody come in, what should I do when I see the officer come in? I mean, so because people, they wonder, okay, what do I do now? Do I keep being hidden? And I think that is what they need to do, right?
So understanding when we go into this situation, this is everyone's running out, we're running in.
Right.
And you're going to have people hiding, you're going to have people scared. The best I can tell people, and it's going to be a very stressful event, and people are going to react differently. We want to see hands. We want to see everybody's hands up.
That's good.
We're going to be trying to use loud, clear, concise, very loud verbal commands. Just follow our commands. And if we start talking, maybe you can help us say, he went this way, he went that way. But just for the most part, it's a stressful situation. We're going to do our best to give you commands, try and follow those commands, show us your hands. I know everybody's on their cell phones and stuff like that, but we don't want to walk in and have us being, someone put a cell phone right in our face. Right. Just let's put our hands up and follow our commands.
Right.
And get through this.
And Doc, you want to make sure, you're teaching these folks, and I think that's superb, because a lot of times as media, we tend to want to rush in and we as media people need to know where our zones are too. But I wanted to make sure that people know too that active shooters, this has been on our radar for a very long time. This hasn't just happened yesterday.
Right. This has been going on forever. Guy blew up a school in Michigan. Principal of the school or head of the school board blew up a school in Michigan in 1927.
Wow.
So this is not something new. This is not something new. I think what's new is our understanding that these people are chronically mentally ill and they can't think clearly. They're in a rage. They've recently had some kind of terrible loss. This man in Florida, he had lost his mom recently. So here's a guy who's mentally ill and then loses his mother. She dies, and he's then unattached to Earth. He's suicidal. He's unattached to Earth. And these people plan this. So that there is information out there if we will pay attention to it.
Okay. And I think that's the message.
Right.
I wish I had more time, but we're doing an extensive show on this. And when we come back, of course, we're going to talk with our good friend Darlene Costanza with Crime Stoppers, and also with a pastor that was there,
okay.
Reverend Tyrone Jefferson, who was there, who heard you all speak. I just want to thank you all for being here and imparting that information to my viewers. We have viewers all over the metro area and also up into as far as Picayune, Mississippi. So hopefully you've got some information you can use, and there's more information. So when we come back, we'll have Darlene Costanza with Crime Stoppers and also a very influential pastor here in the greater New Orleans area. So stay with us. More Money Talks is on the way.
As soon as you play, I'm playing. I'm saying my first drum, second's your first beat. I'm saying first, you 2 feet, then we might stand up. Like first you get your hands, then I get your hands up. My sound, your throat, my dance, your feet. You hear my no heartbeat. The metronome in your chest keeps you in time till there's no time. So you sing till you got no breath, and whoever's next dances to the song you've left. Music creates movements, inspire movements. Where I am, you've been. There is you, then there is music. Music follows you.
Well, welcome back to Money Talks, and we're going to continue our conversation about active shooters. With me now are two other people that real personal friends of mine. And to my immediate left is Darlene Costanza, who is the president and CEO of Crime Stoppers, and I'm happy to say that I'm also on that board. Sure. And to my far left is none other than the one and only Reverend Tyrone Jefferson, and of course he is over Abundant Life Tabernacle Church of Full Gospel. That's right. And you know what? I love your church. It's full of energy. And I like the fact, not just because you're my friend, but you all bring so much energy. Yes. And it also brings in young people, particularly young men and women in the inner city. And that is so important because it all ties back into a lot of the stuff that we talk about on a regular basis. But Darlene, let's start with you. The doc from Jefferson Parish just left, and of course he was there, and of course both of you were at the Active Shooters Conference at Greater St. Stephen's Full Gospel, and it was part of your idea. Why did you think it was so important?
Well, for us, it's always about building the team. And when you're building the team, that involves everybody. So in these situations where we're hearing things happening, whether it's in schools or certainly in houses of worship, we all need to be educated on how do you plan, how do you react, and then what happens afterwards. So we were incredibly fortunate. NOPD had been working on a similar program, and when the chief and I started talking, he goes, we need to do this together. And then we wanted to bring in the psychological effects. So we went out to JPSO and Dr. Airy. And then we even brought in EMS because it's also, there's a time lag before someone actually gets to the scene. So what do you do with, people who are injured and trauma? So EMS came and talked about Stop the Bleed. So it was an incredible opportunity for everyone to really look at what are some of the root causes, who should we be looking out, for possibly as a possible shooter, and then what do we do as a church to protect ourselves.
Yeah. And what was interesting too, you had a cross section of people, black, white, Asian, you name it, were there. And I think that spoke volumes in terms of people saying, we need to know about this. We've been fortunate so far, we haven't had something like that. But it's very important that we be ready in the event something like that happens.
We had over 77 churches, and I say over because we had several people at one point, we couldn't check them in quick enough, so they just all said, just come on in. But over 77 churches from at least as far as Baton Rouge, all the way down to Plaquemines Parish and all in between. And yes, every faith, we even had a Buddhist colony there with us. But it was incredible because they were hearing each other's concerns, they were sharing what they did, some of them had some great plans already, and we had time for them to talk individually with law enforcement. And that was very, very helpful.
Right. And what there were people getting up. I mean, it was very interactive because there were people asking questions, and that was real important, that the actual people there said, you know, I got a question I need to know. I need an answer for this.
Definitely, and it was hard because, I mean, obviously our houses of worship are places of love and acceptance.
Yes.
And this is a tough topic because this is when you cannot possibly accept the behavior or whatever. You have to react in a different way. And there were conversations about what happens if we do react and our team has to take someone down or, you know, whatever, restrain someone, and what legally can happen in that instance. And that was a tough question for the superintendent. Also, you know, should we have people who are armed acting as security in the churches? So, you know, kudos to NOPD for being so open with that.
Yes.
They all want more. You know, we've shared the information, the PowerPoint. This always is part of our Project Good Samaritan program, which of course Pastor is one of those members.
Yes.
We invited people to join that program, and we're even talking about possibly doing a role play type reenactment of a situation in the very near future with all of the churches located at one location so they can see it and be part of that.
Similar to what we do sometimes when they have role play in terms of hurricanes and things like that.
Yes,
So
yes.
people can actually see what goes on.
It's seeing it, it's feeling it, because you know when these things happen,
Yeah.
you're in a whole complete different state
That's
of
right.
mind. It's just, yeah, it's being prepared to see, I guess, your response possibly, but also to kind of see what's necessary to keep things calm and contained.
And when I was talking to Doc earlier, it was interesting, and I hear that all over the country. Usually these people have left a message somewhere with somebody, but we don't really hear what they've told us.
No.
So that, I think this is an awakening to the mind.
Definitely.
As
I mean, it's hard because some individuals obviously are in situations, maybe it's a domestic situation, where you see in those signs coming up, and you know this person could be, you know, the person from your congregation could be in trouble. We even talked about when it's okay to report what you know as a clergy member. And there is a TerraSoft Act that allows the clergy or counselors to let someone know if someone is going to be a terrorist or a threat. And then certainly for us, it's about how do you get the information out safely?
Yes.
And we've seen that with the school shooting. So we have an app. We have a community app. We have a school-specific app, and people can give us information safely, anonymously, and share what they're seeing, so we can be, you know, help law enforcement.
well. And
be
that's, how
informed.
do they get to those apps? Where they go?
They can go to the App Store. It's all free. The Safe School app is Crime Stoppers Safe School, Crime Stoppers GNO Safe School. The community app for adults is Crime Stoppers GNO for Greater New Orleans, and it's like Say It Here. You can download it. Once you download it, you can send us video. You know, you can send us pictures, obviously lengthy emails, and then you can follow up real time. And law enforcement, regretfully, with all the school shootings and all, we've been getting a lot of tips, but that's what it's about. It's being part of the team, being proactive, and just helping.
Well, we certainly appreciate Reverend being part of our team. Reverend, you know, your church is, like I said, is proactive, as are a number of Full Gospel churches where you all already have, you know, security in place, and you know, like most places, but you don't know that security, which is a good thing. Tell us about that, and how does your congregation respond to that?
Well, actually, we have a security team, and they were even a part of the active shooters.
Crime Stoppers Active Shooter.
Yeah, Crime Stoppers Active Shooters course, seminar, whatever you want to call it. Actually, I thought we had it together, but after hearing the chief and others as it relates to their presentation, I'm like, no, we got to go back to the drawing board and implement some things as it relates to our team so we can protect our people. So that entire piece was just excellent, very educational, and I appreciate Darlene and her team for putting it together, because churches need to know what to do when this happens.
And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of times, you know, we think of, you know, like I said, it's a place of worship, and you go in, and from what I understand, usually when something like that happens in these places, particularly churches, it's someone who knows someone within the congregation. And so I'm sure that information must help in terms of if you're aware of something going on or someone's come and talk to you, you all know how to handle that.
Yeah, and what we have done in our church, we actually now have security inside the church with plain clothes on. Of course, outside as well, because there was an incident that happened not long ago in our ministry where a lady came to church with a knife.
Wow, wow.
And we had to,
It was spoiled, yeah.
we had to pull her out of service, and, you know,
All right,
the works.
So that could have really gotten explosive had you all
Yes.
not been ready.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and you've got more information now to even go further.
Yes.
We thank you. Of course, we hope that you'll be at the Crime Stoppers Awards luncheon this year. You did a
Of
fabulous
course.
job
I've been
last year
invited to
with
sing
it.
Oh,
again
he
this year.
is
The
Fabulous
national
job with the
anthem.
national
Incredibly
anthem. You'll be
talented
there.
in so many ways.
And we're gonna go to commercial, and we've been on a really serious subject, but I cannot let us, Darlene, leave without saying happy birthday today. It is her birthday, and we hope that you have a fabulous birthday. And of course, Tyrone is a fabulous singer, and I do what I can.
You taught me everything I know.
Oh,
You
right.
taught me.
So as we go to commercial, let's sing happy birthday to Darlene.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
Oh, you're in a different key.
to you. I am.
Happy birthday, dear Darlene. Happy birthday to you and many more.
On Ed Marshall Show.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Well, you've been wonderful bringing us this kind of information every month, and we appreciate you, and the community does as well.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Money Talks when we come back, so stay here. Our segment where we talk about Let's Make a Difference Together is coming up, and this is about some mentors, some male mentors who are helping some inner city young men. So you don't want to miss it. Stay here.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Well, now it's time for our segment called Let's Make a Difference Together. And for this segment, we want to congratulate St. Mary's Academy for Boys. You may know that that's a girls' school in New Orleans East. Well, it was until a few years after the storm, where it started taking in young men who are at grades 4 to 7. And this was their second annual ceremony, Blazer ceremony, where mentors, men, businessmen from around the city, actually came in and presented the young men their blazers, and I was proud to be one of them, and also just make friends with young men, and to also to help mentor them for the next few years in terms of what it's like to be a man in terms of handling business, going to school, and just all of the wherewithal in terms of growing up to be an individual with great morals and merit. So we just want to thank the Sisters of the Holy Family, and of course the gentleman who's their leader out there, Mr. Chad Smith, who's doing a wonderful job. Well, that's going to do it for Money Talks for this month. Until next month, remember, it's your money, make it work for you. But in the meantime, do something good for yourself, do something good for someone else, and always stay in peace, not pieces. I'm Ed Marshall, and we'll see you.